My name is Bridget Otu. Thank you very much for joining us wherever you're watching us from in Ghana. The headlines tonight. Opposition National Democratic Congress accuses Electoral Commission of seeking to undermine Ghana's democracy by the proposed public elections instrument, making the Ghana card sole requirement for registration of prospective voters. Thousands of unemployed nurses in the northern region demonstrate the government's inability to provide them with employment opportunities since completing school years ago. In business, figures from the Ghana Statistical Service indicates Ghana's economy grew faster than expected in the second quarter of the year, with an increase of 4.8% in GDP. And in news from elsewhere, world leaders meet at the UN General Assembly to discuss threats to global peace and climate change. We have details of these stories and more for the next 60 minutes. Again, thank you very much for joining us on Metro Television. Hello again, and remember we're streaming on Twitter. It's at Metro TVG. If you're on Facebook, it's at Newsnight and at Metro TV Ghana. Our very first story, and the National Democratic Congress is demanding an immediate cessation of work on the new CI by the Electoral Commission. Speaking at a news conference Tuesday, National Communications Officer of the National Chairman of the party, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, reiterated the NDC will resist any attempt by the EC to use only the Ghana card to register prospective voters. He says the EC's claim that the proposed CI is only for continuous registration is misleading.
The Ghana card is a new feature of our national life and cannot immediately become the only means to identify a Ghanaian, only because it plays into the hands of the MPP, whose members constitute the leadership of both the National Identification Authority and the EC.
According to the National Democratic Congress, the Electoral Commission is seeking to undermine the country's democracy through the proposed public elections instrument. Upon a careful study of the draft regulations, Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo mentioned the NDC discovered that Regulation 1.3 states that a person who applies for registration as a voter shall provide as evidence of identification the national identity card issued by the National Identification Authority.
We wish to caution the Electoral Commission to be mindful of its actions and inactions, since they have far-reaching implications for peace and security of our country. The conduct of the Electoral Commission reinforces the NDC's suspicion of collusion between the Commission and the New Patriotic Party to rig the 2024 elections. As a party with legitimate interest in the elections and given the high stakes of the 2024 elections, we are simply unwilling to allow any manipulation before, during, or after those elections.
He further mentioned that the proposed regulation on registration centers will create a number of avoidable problems for the electorate. If implemented, Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo says would make voter registration extremely difficult for citizens who are resident in areas where the district offices, located usually in the district capital, are far from the surrounding villages where potential applicants live.
In our estimation, the proposed regulations on registration centers will create a number of avoidable problems for the electorate. First, it will, if implemented, make voter registration extremely difficult for citizens who are resident in areas where the district office, located usually in the district capital, are far from the surrounding villages where potential applicants live.
The party is therefore demanding an immediate cessation of all work on the laying of the CI in Parliament pending thorough deliberations and consultations with all relevant stakeholders to fine-tune it to take on board the concerns expressed by.
Right, Dr. Sribo Kwaku is the Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, and he joins us to bring clarity to NDC's claim that they should, one, withdraw the CI, and that EC saying that it is only for continuous registration is misleading. A very good evening, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening, my sister.
Right. Doctor, I would appreciate if you could just bring clarity to it when they say the EC insists that this is just for continuous registration. That means that whatever voter's registration card you have, you can use it for the next election. Is that correct?
Exactly so. But the Ghana card is not for voting, it's for registration.
Registration, okay.
Yes. So in 2024, anybody who has the voter ID card that was issued in 2020 will vote with their voter ID card. But what we are saying is that going forward, anybody who wants to register should use Ghana card, meaning that the 17 million people who registered in 2020 are still intact and they will vote with the voter ID card that we have issued to them.
Okay.
But those who are supposed to be added, which we are estimating to be around 1.8 before 2024 election, are those who will use the Ghana card as a form of identification,
Okay.
proof of eligibility. So they will only use to show that I am Bridget Otu. That's all. Then
Okay.
we will register the person, go to the biometric, everything anew, and give the person voter ID card. So this exercise is for only those who have not registered since 2020.
And that will go into the old register, correct?
Yes. So we have 17 million now. Then we are expecting that we will register around 1.8. So we'll add it to that, we get about 18.9 or
Okay.
18.8.
Okay, doctor, but what about the data that you're collecting? Because in this case, you're going to use the Ghana card. For those of us who registered in the last one, we were able to use other forms of ID cards, old ID or a passport. So how about the data that you're collecting? Aren't you worried that you're collecting different information here and
Yeah,
there? And how will that be synced?
If you registered in 2020, you either use Ghana card or passport. All these people had their data, but we did not use their data. We only use them as a form of identification.
Okay.
So you only bring a Ghana card to prove that you are Bridget Otu. Then we will take our data and completely. So we are not using the data from Ghana NIA. We are not using the data from Ghana NIA. We are using the card as a form of identity. That's all. We are not using the NIA data.
Okay. Doctor, has this been communicated to the NDC? And clearly they don't agree with what you're saying, but has this been communicated to the NDC?
Yes.
Since they've raised this over and over again?
After the 2020 election, they said that because they did not agree with the declaration of the results, they have boycotted APAC meetings. And these decisions and discussions have been done more than a year ago at APAC meetings. So anybody, apart from NDC, all those who have been attending APAC meetings are aware. And even NDC, whenever we attend the meeting and we finish with the discussions, we send them copies of the minutes, so they are aware.
Okay, so they are not present, but they are sent copies of the minutes, even though they've boycotted it since the 2020 elections.
Exactly so.
Okay, Dr. Sribo, thank you very much for talking to us on News Tonight. We greatly appreciate it. We'll definitely continue and follow up. They say it's for new registrants, just about 1 million people who register with their Ghana card. If you have your old card, you can still use it for the 2024 elections. Residents of Wa in the Upper West region have expressed optimism over the visit by the Inspector General of Police and the Minister for the Interior, Ambrose Derry, to the town following reported cases of murder and abduction, which has already led to the arrest of one suspect. The residents are also appealing to the police to go beyond the 100,000 cedi bounty placed on the head of the killers and also step up intelligence gathering in the municipality.
Happy that we have recorded a new case, but they should still search it. And then the amount that they have said that whatever that will help them to get a culprit is another way out of getting the culprit.
To be frank, we are not safe. With the number of police personnel being brought to boost up security situation in the region, while such a new case has been recorded, it's really a headache. And then we don't really know those behind these incidents. Looking at it, we rather thought it was foreigners within our midst doing it. But looking at situations, it's like some indigents right from this town are helping to cause more harm to our people. We are not safe. with the number of police personnel, or should I say how the security personnel are being boosted up just 2 days ago, and we have still recorded a new case. It's really uncalled for. We are not safe.
Because of the intensity of the matter, the whole of the country is not stable. Because if the Upper West region is not stable, definitely it will affect the other regions.
It's strange. It has not been happening. It's a new phenomenon, and it needs a higher authority to give assurance to the people and to ensure that his men and women in uniform are on the ground and doing whatever it takes to ensure that peace is restored in Wa. The criminals are found, punished according to law.
We're going on the phone line to speak to the Member of Parliament for Wa Central, Honorable Rashid Pelpo, on what's the development that has taken place so far. A very good evening, and thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, good evening, my brother, my dear. Good
Okay,
evening.
I know that we don't have finality as to who the killers are. There's a suspect in custody, but the steps the police has taken so far, are you impressed with it? And what would you say is the biggest challenge to resolving it?
Well, first of all, the increasing number of police patrol and police involvement in the search for the killers is something that is soothing and giving us confidence that there is a commitment to get them, but not satisfying enough because we're in the process. You can't be satisfied when the ultimate is not done, which is to grab down the perpetrators. But to say whether we are satisfied or not means that we may be happy because of what they have done. The role they are playing shows that they are committed in doing what they want to do. They have increased the number of people. They have increased the number of presence on the road. You see them searching vehicles, stopping people by the road. When it is late, there is a curfew on kind of vehicles on the road and all that. So we are happy that there is a direct commitment to working at that level, but not satisfied that they are involved yet, because it's the ultimate we are looking for.
Okay, and I mean, clearly, if you have the IGP and the Interior Minister there, clearly is at the top, at the apex of crime fighting, and so that's why they are there. Would you say that would in any way put pressure on the security agencies who are already there in investigating and finding finality to it? Or do you think that your voice, adding your voice to it, has made a difference?
Well, first of all, let me say we are very happy that the IGP himself has flown to Wa. So yesterday, he was all over on the streets, throughout the night. He was there working with his colleagues, his officers. And then the Interior Minister also came to meet the chief and people and then spoke to them. But these are fundamental initiatives that will lead to the real work that will be done, the real intelligence, which is what underlying intelligence that should happen.
Right.
The physical presence of police on the road, for me, means nothing to the search for the individuals. It may go some way. People might make mistakes and put some items on the vehicle, which might lead to them being arrested and questioned and found out. But essentially, I want to see a situation where the intelligent work, the high-level security work that allows people in muftis, police in mufti. I'm not teaching them what they will do, but I'm just telling what I want to see. Yeah, to be on the ground, and then finally capture these people in action. This is what I want to see. I'm not impressed with police on the way on the road stopping vehicles and all that. What I'm impressed with is every single day report about, well, they have covered this place. You see, this whole area is covered, and we know that there's a cover on it. You know, sometimes even using cameras to capture some people, just as, you know, to give us real belief that there is high-level commitment to catch these people. The other day, some of the young guys who were on the road and into the bush and searching for them said that we missed catching one of them because they got to an uncompleted building. They found every semblance of the criminal acts in that place. Some property of the lost, one of the individuals who was killed in that same room, but they just missed the person by a few minutes because when the siren was blown, it looks like it triggered him off and he left before they got there.
And Honorable, I want to chip in here. When one suspect is in custody, we're aware, but what we are picking up, he might not necessarily be linked to these murders, but the police, obviously, because there's pressure on them, they are having to pick somebody up. What have you picked up? Because you're an honorable member, I'm sure you get intelligence. What have you picked up? And also, what about the relationship between the residents and the foreigners who are there?
Well, you have two questions. Are you about the person who was picked up or the relation between foreigners and the indigents?
Two in one question, sir. So
okay,
we're
first
wrapping
of all,
up, yes.
yeah. First of all, the person who was picked up, I was there when he was brought to the chief, and I tried to speak to him. He couldn't speak Wale.
Okay.
And then he told me he was Frafra, and then he was on his way to his brother. He was traveling to his brother. He had nobody. He had to go and sleep in that uncompleted building, and then was grabbed by these people. That's what he was telling me. He said, he has done nothing. I've done nothing. But, you know, when somebody like that is arrested in the heat of things, within the space where a crime is committed, it's important to allow for full investigation before you declare him either a victim or, a culprit. So I think that we need investigation on that. Now, the next thing is some people believing that, no, this thing happening cannot be from WA because we know ourselves. I'm not saying this from my end. I'm talking about the perception and thinking of others.
Right.
Now, this thing happening, you know, can't be from WA. We know ourselves. I mean, even in WA, when two people fight,
okay,
they eventually, and the matter is sent to the police station. The same two people go back to the police station and say, Tijabunyen. This expression is known by every police officer who has worked in WA. Tijabunyen, all the same. They don't want people to be punished because of this fight or this death or this beating that has happened. They want the matter resolved indoors. So normally people don't take each other to court in WA. Now, so if at this level alone, people don't want to see others suffer, how come they can be the same while people going about killing people gradually? So they say, look, it must be somebody from outside who must be doing this. That's the impression. So they begin thinking that, look, it must be somebody, not us. It might be wrong, completely wrong, because you cannot imagine, you can't see the mind's construction in the eyes of the person. So you must go deeper than that.
Okay,
so,
sir. Thank you.
So the impression then created, and then some foreigners are suspected. But indeed, it didn't go far. The police stopped it on the way. Elders also said, don't go too far. These people have lived with us for many years. And so no fears about foreigners and indigents.
Thank you. Thank you very much for talking to us. Rashid Pelpo is a member of parliament for WA Central. Remains of a woman believed to be in her 20s has been exhumed in an apartment by the Mankasim police in the central region. The body, which is in a decomposing state, was exhumed following intelligence gathered by the police. Please, viewers are warned of the visuals.
Owner of the residential apartment, popularly known as Nana Clark, and the Tufuhene of Edumaji, NKRUMAH, under the Kumfi traditional area has since absconded. However, a pastor believed to be an accomplice has been arrested and in police custody. It is believed that the deceased was murdered and buried in the residential apartment for ritual purposes. Here are some residents expressing shock over the incident.
Them take away we any begin at Stras and Nampobuan and Zamana addition, Nanta Crane, maybe not the fisherman. No one man. No, movies are getting up when you today, I or of a sudden, Nippon shedding him who be Bibi the Mason.
It's a man will go and met say was the and a crack in the hay, and some beers, why? We should be able to come around Kaba. No one else would be. No, in a crack, welcome, be the boy, and I say, some people were to 2 turn away to a no day go ha. Hey, yet it did him can't cram you there, way too funny, what the nail quack.
Woman, young for an answer from not young from Papa, none of Conning Nerdy, not on the quantity of jar, or Bibiara. Yaya, Adusia. Ah, the master of the Billy and Potamabium. The master of the Billy Siada, it's no or record. It's in a woman and mama for Nancy from
Assemblyman for the area, Alex Kujapia, who equally expressed shock over the development, wants security agencies to up their game, even though he describes the security situation in Mankasim as generally peaceful.
You see, we should be each one's keeper. The best person that can protect you is you yourself, not even the institutions. The institutions have roles to play. And I also advise that anytime we hear of anything going on within the community, at least we should try to alert the security personnel in town so that they can quickly come to our aid.
Need to make an urgent call, but you realize you don't have credit, or your very important conversation was cut short because you ran out of airtime? Well, there's no need for all that stress, because all you have to do is go on MTN and dial star 506 hash, and you get to borrow credit on MTN Extra Time. The best part is you can also borrow data by dialing same number star 506 hash, and you can bundle data whenever you run out of one to continue browsing. As always, your conversations don't need to end. Borrow extra time now and enjoy the things you love on your favorite network, MTN.
Meso, mejo usame rane akra to Kumasi. Sa abanka sadia me menene nyaadwa na se nene nyaadwa fi se ye di blo nya wie e be sin na no ka we onje se ba akwa pima na se ba akwa to fo.
Welcome back to News Tonight. The National Road Safety Authority says it intends to restrict commercial operations of minibuses to intra-city services after receiving numerous complaints from road users about incessant high speed and reckless overtaking by drivers of the minibus. But the various driver unions have expressed strong disapproval of this directive.
This minibus is going to Kintampo and Techiman, but very soon it will not be able to do that again because the Road Safety Commission says it will ban minibuses like these ones from traveling long distances.
It's very, very prudent and very appropriate that we alert them, and when they don't stop, we will seriously consider bringing back the laws that says that they should not travel long distances over 40 kilometers.
But the head of regulations, inspection and compliance at the National Road Safety Authority, Kwame Kodria Tuahene, insists they will go ahead with the directive.
You will notice that in the alert, the focus group was essentially about 4 operators. There are more than 4 operators in that space that use these kinds of vehicles. It points to the fact that others are doing something right, whereas others are not.
We're speaking to the drivers here at Circle who are absolutely not happy with the decision, to find out what they think about the new directive that is yet to be implemented by the Road Safety Commission.
I drive from Accra to Kumasi. I do not agree with the government because we have not heard any of our buses involved in an accident recently.
It is okay so breakaway. Said be a car that form, net special VIP for crown driving careless.
I make sure I drive safely and I take my passengers to their destination. I do not agree with the government because the cars are barely involved in accidents.
It is okay so carway or breakaway with the car carway do doesn't any accident or so.
Abasadia media to media many are buying because
I disagree with the government because every car can be involved in an accident, but it all depends on the driver.
To media menene nyadwe.
Road minister Sano Canada, menene nyadwe seconds. So
they have to make sure the roads have double lanes in order to prevent accidents. If they want us to stop driving these cars, they should look for other jobs for us to do.
The drivers are concerned about what becomes of their livelihood should this directive kick in.
And the Minister of Roads and Highways, Kwesi Amoakwata, has assured that the ongoing reconstruction of the Lat Beach Road from the Independence Square to Tema Community 3 will be completed in March 2023. And the Minister insists measures have been put in place to ensure traffic congestion on that stretch as a result of the closure of one of the lanes of the Peshi Bridge is minimized.
The rehabilitation works on the La Beach Road is expected to be completed in the first quarter of 2023. In an interaction with the media, the Minister of Roads and Highways, Kwesi Amoakwata, expressed satisfaction with the progress of work, adding that there would be some interruption to the flow of vehicular traffic at the Peshi Bridge due to the construction of a new concrete bridge over the Peshi Lagoon.
Meeting the deadline is not an issue. Of course, with construction, there will be challenges, but when we get to the bridge, we shall cross it. Challenges will come, but there are efficient people, professionals, engineers around. Whatever issue comes up, those issues will be dealt with. But rest assured, and I want to assure the people of this country that the deadline will be met.
Amoakwata assured measures have been put in place to ensure traffic congestion on that stretch as a result of the closure of one lane of the Peshi Bridge is minimized. He called for support and collaboration from motorists and the traveling public during the period earmarked for the construction works.
This is a quite heavily trafficked route, and people have been suffering and going through a lot of inconveniences, over the years, and we plead with them, the traveling and the motoring public, as the director of urban road said, they should bear with us. We have to suffer before we gain, and within the next few months, maximum 6 months from now, all these sufferings and inconveniences will come to an end.
The minister also inspected works on the construction of a flyover from the Flower Port on the Spintex Road to the Boundary Road across the Accra-Tema motorway. He said the project would have achieved 50% completion on the initial scope, but due to additional works and changes to the scope, it currently stands at 25% and is expected to be completed in December 2023.
And the Lejokugu Municipal Assembly has given a 7-day ultimatum to residents in the area without building permit to acquire them immediately or have themselves be blamed. The Assembly observed that more than 60% of existing buildings in the area have no building permit.
Yes, Lejokuku Municipal Assembly has been battling residents over issuance of building permit, property charge rates, income taxes, among others, to enable it raise funds to develop the municipality. The Lejokuku MC, Mordecai Kwashi, expressed worry over the Assembly's inability to bring rapid development due to the residents' failure to pay their building permit and other taxes.
We've given them a grace period of 7 days from today. By Monday next week, their names, for those who are still defaulters, their names will be advertised in leading daily newspapers in order to remind them openly and officially to come and make payment. After the names are advertised, we give them another 70 days, and we will move into the enforcement mode of going to enforce development control. Remember that buildings that don't have permits are not supposed to exist.
He stressed the Assembly observed over 60% of existing buildings in the area have no building permit and strategizing to regularize the system to ensure residents are safe at their various communities in the municipality.
We as an Assembly ourselves have very often failed to implement development control measures that would ensure that, or that would discourage people from building without permits. And this has created a general atmosphere of impunity when it comes to the buildings, such that people build without applying for permits, and they don't even expect us to stop them.
The municipal chief executive says the Assembly is targeting over 700,000 Ghana cedis on the building permit process before the end of 2022.
And as you're aware, every 21st September, Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day is set aside to remember the birth of the first president of Ghana, the man who led Ghana through independence. However, some Ghanaians have expressed displeasure with the government's decision to make the day a public holiday. Now, according to them, the economy is in crisis, and declaring the day a holiday would not help the economy to prosper.
Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah is recognized as the founder of Ghana due to his hard work in fighting for and leading the country to independence from the colonial masters. In honor of him, every 21st September has been set aside to honor and revive his legacies. On the day, videos and documentaries of the works and exploits of the first president of Ghana are aired on various television channels. However, some Ghanaians have expressed displeasure with the government's decision to make the day a public holiday.
Kwame
Nkrumah did not help the nation at all. For instance, South Africa during their independence did not drive their colonial masters away, and see how the country is progressing. But Nkrumah chased our colonial masters away, and we are now struggling. Every president is supposed to continue the works of Nkrumah, but because he didn't do anything for the country, no president can continue.
I know Kwame Nkrumah constructed the motorway. Although I have never seen him before, I heard he constructed the motorway. I believe if Kwame Nkrumah was alive, he would be very disappointed with the way the country is running. All his struggle will become waste.
The Nkrumah Memorial Day is not relevant. The country is in a mess. Our leaders need to think of ways to put the economy back into form, other than celebrating the dead.
Business News is next with Winston Taki. Please stay on.
Welcome back to Newsnight live on Metro TV. My name is Winston Taki, and now to a first business story. Ghana's economy grew faster than expected in the second quarter of this year, with an increase of 4.8% in gross domestic product. Government statistician Professor Kobna Enim noted this was spurred by the manufacturing sector and cocoa production.
The April to June quarter report revealed that the manufacturing, crops, mining and quarrying, information and communication, as well as the education subsectors were the main drivers of the GDP for the second quarter. The fishing subsector saw a decline of 3% from 4.7% to 1.7%. The growth of crops also slowed from 1.3% to 1% in the second quarter. The professional, administrative and support activities subsectors also saw a decline. Head of the Statistical Service, Professor Samuel Enim, encouraged that more attention be given to such areas.
It's important we pay attention to the subsector growth rate. As we indicated, the headline growth rate was 4.8%. But if you look at it from a subsector perspective, we realize that the services sector had the highest growth rate of 5.2%, followed by the agricultural and the industry sectors that grew by 4.6% and 4.4% respectively. From a policy perspective, we need to pay attention to the subsectors that contracted over the period.
In response to whether this growth will negate the recent economic stresses like high inflation and the cedi depreciation, Professor Enin explained that it was too early to judge this development, explaining that despite the increase, there may be a lag effect in the next quarter.
I would request that we tread with some circumspection, in the sense that it will be too early to say that we've negated whatever effect that the exchange rate, the inflation is having on the growth. Let's keep in mind that what we've released is year-on-year inflation. Let's also keep in mind that whatever happened to inflation peaked in the second quarter of this year, and actually in the latter part of 2021, and indeed in the second, third, and fourth quarters of 2021, inflation, I'll say, that was nowhere close to where we are now. So there's a potential of a lag effect going into the third quarter and subsequently the fourth quarter of 2022.
He added that the country's real sector growth will determine how the Russia-Ukraine war and COVID-19 will continue to affect the economy.
Now, away from that, the Deputy CEO of the Ghana Export Promotion Center says government is earnestly working in order to achieve an expected annual revenue of $2.8 billion in export. Samuel Dentu was speaking at the second International Coconut Festival here in Accra.
To data from the Food and Agriculture Organization Corporate Statistical Database for the year 2017, Ghana ranked 14th on the list of the world's top coconut producers, with 383,960 metric tons produced in 2017 alone. The African Coconut Group, ACG, in collaboration with the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, is holding the second International Coconut Festival in Ghana under the theme Repositioning Ghana's Coconut Sector for the Accelerated Industrialization Agenda.
Production has also increased steadily from 404,156 metric tons in 2019 to 412,459 metric tons in 2020. A higher productivity in coconut could therefore be one of the fastest means by which an impact can be made in alleviating poverty and improve farmers' income in rural areas.
Deputy CEO of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Samuel Dentu, assured stakeholders in the coconut industry of the outfit's commitment to supporting the industry to achieve an expected annual revenue of $2.8 billion in exports.
This year's International Coconut Festival themed Repositioning Ghana's Coconut Sector for Accelerated Industrialization Agenda falls within the pillars of the National Export Development Strategy, considering the potential to generate about $2.8 billion from semi-processed and processed coconut exports annually. This promotional platform offered by the festival is also intended to emphasize government's industrialization agenda and to push forward the One District, One Factory initiative.
Participating in the festival was ACAP.
It helps in good yield of agricultural crops. Contains organic matter. It helps the humus content of the soil. So it helps plants to grow very, very well. ACAP compost also helps suppress pest control, which helps reduce the use of chemical fertilizers.
The country's export of desiccated coconut alone amounted to $21.9 million in 2021, from $6.3 million in 2020 and $3.8 million in 2019, making Ghana 9th in the global export of desiccated coconut.
That'll be all for business here on Newsnight. My name is Winston Taki. Sports is next.
Good evening, it's time for your sports. My name is Phil John Quarty. The leadership of Formula One has announced that next year's season championship will be won on a 24 calendar race. Well, away from Formula One, let's focus on football and go straight to France. That's where the national football team, the Black Stars, are preparing to take on South American giants Brazil in an international friendly on Friday. The Black Stars have been under the tutelage of Coach Aldo. In your pictures over the members of the Black Stars, that includes Thomas Partey. We're talking about Inaki Williams, who's joined them from his base in Spain. They're all preparing for that tie against Brazil on Friday. Meanwhile, they also take on the men from Central America. We're talking about those from Nicaragua on the 27th of September in that second friendly international. So the Black Stars will first take on the Seleçaos on Friday in France. Well, let's go to the Russian capital, Moscow now, because there's bad news for them in terms of football. After banning them from participating in the World Cup qualifiers, another bad news has greeted the Russians following their invasion of Ukraine from February. We're being told that Europe's football governing body, that is UEFA, had decided to ban Russian Football Federation and all clubs from participating in the Euros 2024. So that is the news that has greeted Russia following their invasion of Ukraine. They will not be participating in the qualifiers for the Euros 2024 and also European club football. That is the news we are receiving from the UEFA headquarters. Well, that's your sports. My name is Phil John Quarty. Up next, Showbiz.
My name is Asia Dwakomi and it's time for entertainment news. Now, as part of promoting his recently released EP titled King of Melodies, Kwaku Flick mentioned in an exclusive interview with Metro News that he will be going on Europe tour and organize a concert in Takoradi very soon.
A concert tour is a series of concerts by an artist or group of artists in different cities, countries, or locations. Often, concert tours are named to differentiate different tours by the same artist and to associate a specific tour with a particular album or product. Ghana has seen quite a number of its artists go on international tours to promote their craft. Artist Kwaku Flick mentioned to Metro News during an exclusive interview about his upcoming Europe tour and concert in Takoradi in the coming month towards promoting his recently released EP, King of Melodies.
The Europe tour is all about Kwaku Flick experience and also my EP. And I've done my maiden show in Accra here at the National Theatre. That was 19th. Yeah, last month 19th. It was massive. So I think we are just planning on doing a different thing on maybe Takoradi also. The Europe tour will be in France, will be in Amsterdam, will be in Belgium, but here in Ghana, the next show will be in Takoradi. I've done my maiden show here in Accra, but I think as time goes on, we'll come back and have one here. Yeah.
Maroon 5 star Adam Levine has been accused of having a year-long affair with an Instagram model and even allegedly asking if he could name his baby after her. The singer, 43, is married to Victoria's Secret model Behati Prinsloo, 34, who is currently pregnant with their third child. Model Sumna Stroh took to TikTok to make the accusations against the musician.
Essentially, I was having an affair with a man who's married to a Victoria's Secret model. At the time, I was young, I was naive, and quite frankly, I feel exploited. I wasn't in the scene like I am now, so I was definitely very easily manipulated. Maroon 5 is practically elevator music at this point, so I'm sure you know who Adam Levine is. But Adam and I were seeing each other for about a year. After I stopped talking to him over, a period of months, this is how he came back into my life. He said, okay, serious question. I'm having another baby, and if it's a boy, I really want to name it Sumner. You okay with that? Dead serious. I was like, I'm in hell. Like, I have to be in hell at this point. My morals were unknowingly compromised. I was completely manipulated. I wanted to handle this privately. I never wanted to come forward because obviously I know the implications that come with doing what I do.
Well, that's it for entertainment news. My name is Esiedua Akumia. Bridget?
Thank you very much, Esiedua. International news is next.
The United Nations Annual Summit returned in person for the first time in 3 years on Tuesday, with UN Chief Antonio Guterres warning in his opening speech of an upcoming winter of global discontent from rising prices, a warming planet, and deadly conflicts. The 77th General Assembly meeting of world leaders convenes under the shadow of Europe's first major conflict since World War II, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which has unleashed a global food crisis and opened fissures amongst major powers in a way not seen since the Cold War. Almost 7 months after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, 4 areas under Moscow's control have announced plans for urgent so-called referendums on joining Russia. Russia's invasion has stalled in recent months, and Ukraine has recaptured territories in the northeast. Now Russian-backed officials in the east and south say they want votes on joining Russia starting this week. Russia annexed Crimea in 2014 after a vote widely condemned as a sham. The UK is weighing up whether to attend a new European Political Club of Nations next month. The first meeting of the European political community is due to be held in Prague in early October. Downing Street wants to see more detail on the summit before Prime Minister Liz Truss commits to attending it, and no final decision has been made. The European political community is an idea championed by the French President Emmanuel Macron.
Right, and that's it for News Night. Thank you very much for joining us. Do stay with Metro Television. Good Evening Ghana will come on, and other programs as well.